Hello, Sim Racers. This is Sim Racer bringing you another episode on Sim Racing. Hey, in today's episode, I'm going to give you my top 5 picks of my top 5 Sim Racing vehicles or Sim Racing cars for Sim Racing beginners. So let's get into it. At number 5 is the iRacing Skip Barber 2000. So this is kind of a inverse order, if you will, that the Skip Barber is a bit more difficult to drive than the number 4, number 3 rated vehicles, and of course the number 1 vehicle. So the way that I classified these vehicles was their, relative difficulty to drive. The Skip Barber 2000 was completely redone by iRacing. It is fundamentally a brand new sim racing vehicle, and it is superb. I mean, it is just really that good. The Skip Barber 2000, the reason I've got it ranked at number 5 for beginners is because the car does have a fair amount of side slippage. So to drive the vehicle and to drive the Skip Barber fast, you've got to be able to learn how to drive the car a bit sideways through the turns and coming off the exit. The Skip Barber is a momentum car, always has, and with the revamp, it still is a momentum car. When you mash the throttle, you're not gonna just suddenly shoot off and regain any lost time. So the Skip Barber requires skill, finesse, and at times a bit of courage to keep it at fast lap times, something which quite frankly I've never been able to do, but it is a very exciting car to drive. Why, if I'm saying that it has these qualities to it, would it be ranked number 5 for sim racing beginners? Because the car is just solid. It grips very well. Its behavior is excellent. It feels good to drive, and it gives you a great deal of confidence. So coming in at number 5 is the iRacing Skip Barber 2000. Coming in at number 4 is the Automobilista 2 Sprint Race car. They call it the Sprint Race. I'm not sure if this is a real car, to be honest with you, or if it's a sim car. I really don't know. But aside from the lack of myself knowing whether it's a real car that races in a real series, or whether it's a virtual car that has been built specific for Automobilista 2, the fact remains that for a beginner, this is an excellent sim racing vehicle. It does have modest side slippage, but absolutely nothing that within 5 to 10 laps that the player is not going to be aware of and is not going to be able to handle very easily. Has great braking, strong braking, and the car is just very, very solid, very stable, very stable. It has good power, so you have good speed, and it corners very, very well. Yes, you can lose the back end if you really try to. So you've got to learn a little bit of holding the car in its correct attitude as you race it. But overall, it is just a superb, well-balanced, excellent handling, and highly stable sim racing vehicle. So coming in at number 4 is the Automobilista 2 Sprint Race. Coming in at number 3 is the iRacing Dallara F3. This car is an open wheel car, and it's a recent ad or a recent release by iRacing. I think it's been about 4, maybe 5 months that the car was released and is available in iRacing. Right out of the box, the Dallara F3 is just solid. By this I mean just go ahead and just get in it and drive it. The baseline setup is flawless. The car handles superbly, and it has reasonable power. It's fun to drive. It just sticks through the corners. It's got good speed, and it's a really fun car, a very enjoyable car to race in traffic and to race competitively. Participation levels for the Dallara F3 are very, very good, and the Dallara F3 has the brand new damage model from iRacing, which even gives greater realism to the vehicle. The Dallara F3 with its new damage model, also I failed to mention, is the Skip Barber 2000, also has the new damage model. So if you have contact with the vehicle, if you go off track, you have contact with another vehicle, another racing competitor, the severity of the damage is in relationship to, of course, how severe of the impact is. You know, I mean, a light touch, a slight bump, and you're not really going to sustain any damage. If you have a bit of a modest amount of impact or force, you'll sustain damage, and the damage then does affect the driving qualities of the vehicle, and that's true also, which I failed to mention, in the Skip Barber 2000. So for both the Skip Barber 2000 and the Dallara F3, the new damage model ups the game in immersion and I guess I want to say the reality of a racing vehicle. All of that said, the Dallara F3 is just stable. It is very, very solid. You really don't notice any real side slippage as you do with the Skip Barber and or the sprint race car. That it's there. I mean, if you really want to get the car sideways, you can, but you're going to have to work at it. So it's just a great, great car. A beginner is going to thoroughly enjoy this car. And the great thing about it is that both the Skip Barber, which I failed to mention again, and the Dallara F3 are in the new iRacing AI module, so you can get in. A beginner can get in this car, can dial up a race, and just go have fun and just really enjoy and learn and develop your driving skills and your driving techniques. Highly recommended. Coming in at number 3, the iRacing Dallara F3. Alright then, after dealing with that phone call, hey, coming in at number 2 is the R-Factor 2 and Automobilista 2 Formula Vee. Now, the Formula Vee, and when we get to the number one car, they are both Ryza cars. Before Automobilista 2 was released, there was kind of a preview that was sent out by Ryza, and which they had done some cars for R-Factor 2. And both those cars are my number 2 and my number 1 selections for sim race beginners. The Formula Vee is indeed a true open wheel training car. Doesn't have a great deal of horsepower. It's definitely a momentum car, but when I say that, it's nothing like the the Skip Barber 2000. The Formula Vee, you pretty much run the car in second, third, and fourth gear. You have to be careful on downshifting, because if you downshift too soon, the car's just going to snap around on you because you just drop too many gears too quickly. It's a fun car to drive. It's very stable. Again, it doesn't have a lot of power, so you're when you stand on the throttle, it's going to take a while to come up to speed and to respond. When you're racing the vehicle, it's generally close racing action, especially when you have the AI set to your appropriate level. Now, the difference between the R-Factor 2 Formula Vee and the Automobilista 2 Formula Vee is that in AMS2, the Formula Vee is a bit more lively. By lively, I mean it. You can toss it around a little bit more, and it has a more pronounced driving feel to it. In R-Factor 2, the driving feel for it is very, very stable, very, very solid, but you kind of lose a little bit of that liveliness of the car. But nonetheless, the Formula Vee, the R-Factor 2 Formula Vee, the AMS2 Formula Vee, is an excellent beginning open wheel car for somebody to learn how to race sim an open wheel car, to develop their their racing skills, their what am I trying to say there? Racing. I'm having a brain fart there. Anyway, developing your racing talent, I guess. For some reason, that term is completely just slipped my mind. But anyway, folks, there you go. Coming in at number 2 is the R-Factor 2 and the AMS2 Formula Vee. And my number 1 pick for beginning sim racers is the R-Factor 2 Automobilista 2 MCR. This car is absolutely glued to the track. It's almost impossible. Well, nothing's impossible, but it's extremely difficult for you to lose the handling on this car. It has very little noticeable side slippage, but yet it has amazing side grip, side bite. The car is just as solid as you could ever hope a racing car or racing vehicle, or certainly a sim racing vehicle, to be. The car itself is going to be very kind to you. You can make all kinds of mistakes, especially as you're learning to race sim racing or to be a sim racer, and the car's not going to bite you. you have to make a horrendous error in order for the car to step out on you or to hurt you in any way. It drives impeccably. It's very enjoyable to race. I can't say enough about it. Now, once again, the difference between the R Factor 2 version of the MCR and the AMS2 version is that the AMS2 is definitely more lively than the R Factor 2. The R Factor 2 it's not a dull car necessarily to race, but it's so solid that you really don't have a lot of necessarily driving sensation with it in the R Factor 2, at least in my opinion. But in the AMS2, Automobilista 2, with the MCR car, it's a bit more lively. The steering is more active. You have a greater sensation of it being a race car, being a race vehicle. So I've always enjoyed. I'll jump in the MCR for both the Sims, R Factor 2 and AMS2, run some races and just thoroughly enjoy racing the car. Once again, with your AI set at your appropriate skill level, you're just going to have a very enjoyable race and a very enjoyable time. And by the way, I finally remembered that term I was trying to say, racecraft, that both the, well, in fact, all 5 of these cars that are mentioned here, that in my opinions, provide great experiences for the beginning sim racer to develop their racecraft. So there you go. Those are my 5 personal picks for a sim racer beginner, for them to get involved in and to experience, to learn, and to enjoy sim racing. Hey, this is Sim Racer, and as always, enjoy your sim racing pursuits, and we'll see you in the next video.